People, welcome to Newspaper Breakdown. It is the 27th of the 3rd. Hope we're fine. Five stories to get through. We'll start with a report by the Children's Commissioner, Dame Rachel D'Souza, who says that 2,847 children were strip searched in England and Wales from 2018 to mid-2022. With children as young as 8 strip searched in the back of police vans, schools and fast food outlets. The National Police Chief Council has said that they will carefully consider the findings, which is nice of them. The report also found that black children were up to 6 times more likely to be searched than the overall child population, because isn't it always nice to make sure that we have just a bit of racism in all of our stories. 52%, so more than half of the searches that took place without an appropriate adult confirmed to be present, which is of course a legal requirement, but the police and legality don't tend to go hand in hand, do they? It is a legal requirement, except when there is a serious risk to the child's life or welfare. Data shows 51% of all the searches led to no further action. Of the nearly 3,000 children searched, 24% took place on children aged 10 to 15. As I mentioned, the youngest age was 8. 95% of the searches were boys, with 37% of them being black boys. It is yet another show of corruption that comes with power. And we'll see as the stories go on, we're only going to be adding more power to police. It's ridiculous. You need to sort out the police before you start handing them more powers. Anyway, UK energy companies have forcibly installed 94,000 prepayment meters using warrants in 2022, with Scottish Power and British Gas ordering the most. Forcing prepayment meter installations is generally used by energy companies for customers who have missed a payment in the past. Forcible installations have been, of course, in the news recently and have had the light shined on it due to the fuel crisis, which has forced 2 million people, 2 million English households, so more people, into fuel poverty last year. Ukraine war, coming out of COVID, they're all of the reasons, of course. In February, the government agreed with suppliers to halt forced installations amid concerns that the rules to protect vulnerable households were being ignored, which they were, with Ofgem, which is the energy regulator, saying that the ban will be in place until a code of practice has been established. Scottish Power, British Gas and OVO were responsible for 70% of all forced installations, with Scottish Power being the worst offender, taking into account their customer base. Once again, what do we see here? The powerful do what the fuck they want. One thing you'd have to look is how much effort did these energy companies put into seeing if there was something that could be done so that the people who are in fuel poverty were able to pay at least part of the bill before you got a warrant, forced yourself into their homes, and made sure that they went without fucking energy. Big question. Anyway, according to a new report by think tank the Institute for Public Policy Research, work surveillance techniques are more likely to be disproportionately affecting young people, women, and ethnic minorities. So, everyone apart from like, what you associate with a straight white man. Like me, I'm fine. Worker surveillance practices have been increasing and have become the new norm with the rise of remote working, leading to an increase in workplace monitoring. Regulations have not kept up with this fact, though, which is one of the problems that you face with, I'd say, the majority of governments, is that they are consistently reactionary. They are never in front of anything. They are always chasing, constantly chasing. According to the IPPR, in the private sector, women are at a higher risk of surveillance, with non-union women 52% more likely to face surveillance, which is the same for black workers, 52% more likely. Young people, which is aged between 16 and 29, in low-skilled jobs, are 49% more likely to be surveilled at work. The IPPR recommends that the government should consider outlawing practices such as keystroke monitoring, and employers should share data collected with employees. All very good ideas. Some research has estimated that the number of employers using monitoring tools has doubled since the pandemic and is expected to rise to 70% within the next 3 years. This, of course, coming in line with the more remote working that we have, and employers wanting to control everything you do in a severe dystopian world. With tech advancing, so too has the ability to monitor and the monitoring techniques that are available, which now, of course, which now include things like keystroke monitoring or tracking computer activity through regularly taking screenshots, also recording calls, and even accessing employee webcams. We see so much that you watch in like dystopian films, and you think, oh, that's terrible, that's awful, and then you see it happen in reality, and I can't get out just going, well, what's the point in having a dystopian piece of art to make you think about the potential pitfalls and bad things that can happen, when you're just going to watch it and take it as fucking tips? Two more stories. Being tough on crime is back again, with both major parties wanting to show how RoboCop they are. Last week, Labour published its proposals to tackle nuisance public behaviour in a speech by Starmer, and now Sunak is expected to announce plans to step up hotspot policing of high crime areas and pilot immediate justice programmes to impose rapid punishments. Under the anti-social behaviour action plans, ministers will also outlaw the sale of nitrous oxide, which is laughing gas. This is the next stage in the mass failure that has been the war on drugs. You have to have a look at the successes of the war on drugs, the war on terror, the war on crime. It's at this point, if the government ever did a war on peace, we may find utopia. Labour has accused the government of stealing its ideas, which is sad for them both, really. 6 areas of England and Wales will pilot hotspot policing, in which police or other authority figures are posted in areas with high levels of antisocial behaviour. Another 6 areas will trial immediate justice, under which those responsible for damage such as vandalism will be made to repair the damage they caused, make a highly visible reparation. 4 areas will trial both. Now, it should be noted at this point that the laughing gas ban goes against the advice of the Advisory Council on the Misuse of Drugs. It's one of those things that, as a government, you say to give the Telegraph a headline. That's it. It's pointless, absolutely pointless. There's no nuance in policy. There's none, absolutely none. Anyway, we're going to end on Israel. Fun. President Herzog has implored the government to halt its judicial overhaul, warning that its polarization had put our security, economy, and society under threat. This after mass protests erupted across the country overnight, after Berlin Prime Minister Netanyahu sacked his defense minister for urging a delay in reform. The proposed plans by the Israeli government would significantly weaken the powers of the judiciary, and the fight that has preceded the plans has escalated into a political crisis, unsettled investors, alarmed allies, and sparked the biggest wave of protests in a decade. So well done to the far-right apartheid fuck-knuckles that are currently running Israel. Truly, they are the worst of us. Fuck them. Yeah, but well done to all the protesters. We like to see protests. It's always fun standing up. Netanyahu wants to screw over the judiciary because he's still being tried for corruption. Although that's not going to go through. He's not going to be done for corruption, even though he is corrupt, because now he's the Prime Minister. And you have everyone, you got however many percentage voted for Netanyahu and the far-right side of the fucking Israeli party that he's in a coalition with. Going, oh no, we're good people. No, you're not. You're piles of shit. Fuck it. So we're done. I'll speak to you tomorrow.